Welcome back to another video brought to you by Flipped Out Classes. Today, I'm going to talk to you about questions and statements using helping verbs. A common mistake I hear English language learners make are some of the following sentences. Why you are, how he can, when I will. These specific sentences, of course, are questions. Let's look at a better example of these. One example of why you are could be why you are crying. When corrected, it should sound like this. Why are you crying? So as you can see, I switched around the words you and are. Why are you? Another example is how he can still be hungry. It should be how can he still be hungry? And finally, when I will see you again should be when will I see you again? So now I want to talk to you about helping verbs. These are some examples of helping verbs in the English language. They basically go together with other verbs. They help other verbs. Here are some other ones. And here are some other ones. So let's take a look how we use those helping verbs in forming a question. Of course, we have question words in English that let you know immediately at the very beginning of a sentence that this sentence is going to be a question. Those words, of course, are why, what, when, where, and how. For example, why did you do that? What is this? When will you eat dinner? Where are you? How do I look? And so you can see here, we have those helping verbs. Did, is, will, are, do. If you forget what these helping verbs are, you can go back and look in the previous part of this video at the whole list of helping verbs. And then on the other side, right after the helping verb, you will see these words called subjects. You, this, you and I. All right, so this brings us to our golden rule for making questions. A helping verb must always be followed by a subject, and that will create our question. Now this is true even if you don't have those question words, who, what, why, where, when, how. So did you could actually form a question all by itself. Now, when we make statements, these rules change. When we make statements, it's the opposite. First, we have the subject, then the helping verbs, and that creates our statement. You did, this is, you will, you are, I do. So making a statement, you don't need any question words. For example, you could say, you did that. Or, this is a bicycle. Or, you will eat dinner at 6:30. You are on the 7th floor. I look good. Now, when making this very last sentence, we usually omit the word do. But you could use the word do if somebody had already made the statement, you look good, and you wanted to emphasize and say, yes, I do look good. But normally, like I said, we don't need that word do. So, as you can see here in our rule about statements, we have our subjects first, followed by our helping verbs, except in the last sentence where the helping verb is not necessary. That only applies for the word do, does, doesn't, etc. Now you might be pretty frustrated by now, thinking, I already know this, but I still keep making the same mistakes. So I'm going to give you some advice about how to practice these rules. My first tip is to make flashcards. When making flashcards, you can hop on Google and do a Google search for auxiliary verbs, which means the same thing as a helping verb, and take note of all those different auxiliary verbs. In my video there is a list as well, so you can go back in my video and copy all of those words. And then you can do the same for English subjects. This is a little bit trickier, so you could search for subject pronouns in English. And that should give you a pretty good list of all the different subjects you usually use to make sentences. Then you can make flashcards with those subject pronouns and our helping verbs and arrange them into questions and statements and practice repeating these over and over again. My second tip is to use an app called Quizlet. So after downloading Quizlet, you can search in the search bar for English helping verbs, and you can look up sentences using those helping verbs, and you can see examples of the helping verbs themselves, lists of them, and you can drill these flashcards over and over again to reinforce them. My third tip is to write down useful sentences and questions. So writing down useful sentences with the helping verbs and subject pronouns in a notebook just like this, you can highlight or underline the helping verbs and the subjects and repeat these over and over. And finally, my fourth tip is to stay tuned for another video that I will make about stress patterns and intonation. And I will be talking about forming questions and making statements in those stress patterns. Once again, that's it, and thank you so much for watching. Be sure to keep in touch with us through Flipped Out Classes on Facebook or YouTube. And as always, see you next time.